Joining us now is criminal defense lawyer Elliott Willschick. Elliott, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
What do you make of this case wrapping up at this stage now? And they only called one witness on the defense side.
So this is the type of case where you basically try to gauge the person who's accusing him of this in terms of their credibility. And so you wouldn't want to necessarily call Bill Cosby at this point, maybe many years ago when he was at the height of his career, but at this point he can do no good for himself.
Why do you what kind of thinking went into the decision to not have him get up there and give his version of events?
Probably, first of all, that he wouldn't have very much to add. He's already essentially testified through the deposition that he gave in the testimony that the jury heard. Secondly, his health doesn't look like it's in the greatest place right now, so you wouldn't want him to go up there and say things that are incorrect. Finally, I'm not sure what explanation he would have for giving her the amount of drugs that he did.
Now, in this case, you have the judge giving a charge to the jury. What do they have to consider, and what are the potential landmines that they have to watch out for in looking over the evidence?
So what the judge would remind them is their role, so that Bill Cosby's innocent until proven otherwise, and that it's on the state to prove the case against him. They would probably explain to them how to go about analyzing the testimony and just remind them of their role. But in this case, it's very simple. It's to see whether or not she's credible and then make a decision, and perhaps to warn them not to listen to any outside influences, because there's been so many people who have come forward, as well as perhaps to subtly remind them that you're not judging Bill Cosby from the Cosby Show. This is an individual who's been accused of a criminal act.
From what we've heard and seen from the prosecution, what did you make of their case?
I think they just mainly put their witness up on the stand and just let the story stand. I guess the difficulty for them is back in 2005, they didn't charge Bill Cosby, and they've already explained why they didn't. There's some inconsistencies there, but that's not unusual in this type of case.
You mentioned the attacking of the credibility of Andrea Constand. Is that a knee-jerk reaction in a case like this, that approach is taken?
Well, unfortunately, you don't have much more to go by other than her word. There's no DNA evidence, but that's generally what you would do in this type of case, is you look to see if the story stands up. So she took about a year to report this. There is no DNA evidence, and she also had spoken to a civil lawyer as well in between when she actually first spoke to the police. So you want to look at those things, as well as after the fact. They did have telephone calls, and the subject matter of that was up for debate.
Mm-hmm. Those telephone calls, and I mean, the defense listed that they had many telephone calls. Is that relevant in this case in figuring out whether he's guilty or not?
It can be. It wasn't Ghomeshi where they were sending messages afterward, and they actually knew what the nature of those messages were. She explained that she had to talk to Bill Cosby because of her role, her job, but it certainly, you would wonder why they spoke for 49 minutes on one phone call if it's merely just about work.
Last question. Juries usually take how much time for something like this?
It's hard to say, but the faster they come back, the general rule is guilty. So for Bill Cosby's sake, hopefully they take a little bit longer.
Elliott, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.